Also, 3 ahadith from the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, as if they explain the details of that ayah and the details of what marriage is. So before that, just to give some context and perspective, again, this was supposed to be for the youth. I see some of them here. In any case, I would say that a lot of you brothers here, our young brothers and sisters upstairs, that your only exposure to marriage in today's context, meaning in today's time, in today's place, 2023 in the United States of America, your only exposure to marriage is usually that of your parents. And many of you, myself included, your first generation, again, Muslim Americans, or you yourself are immigrants, or you came here as a child. But you don't have, again, that exposure to marriage as if you would in your back home country or your parents' back home country, where everybody lives as a small unit, as a village, and you get to see the marriage of your cousins and your aunts or your older siblings because you all grow up together. So, but at the same time, I would say that here in America, because the only exposure to marriage that we have is our parents, it's not usually a good example. Why? And again, anyone can correct me if I'm wrong, this is from my perspective, that the mother, the immigrant mother, she comes to America and she's too busy adjusting to life here. She wants to educate herself and she wants to go to university or she wants to start working. She wants to take advantage of the freedoms and opportunity that America has to offer. Do you think that she came to America with her husband, which is our parents, whoever, just to stay home and say, look, I want to raise the kids. I want to stay home and I want to raise the kids? No, a lot of the time, she's out there. She wants to, again, get her credentials. She wants to get her university degree that she never got back home. And she wants to start earning money so that she could have some income of her own, or she could go help her family back home, or whatever the reason is. But due to these issues, and the father, at the same time, he's usually, building his business, busy working 1 or 2 or 3 jobs, whatever he needs to do. From my experience, usually these marriages of, again, our parents, grandparents, whoever they are, there's not much love between them. Usually there's huge problems between them. Problems that they would never have or they would not have if they stayed in their home country. So the point is that a lot of us youth, this is the only exposure to marriage that we have, and this is a problem. So, add on top of that, add to it the individualistic society that we live in America, where again we don't see other relationships. We only see what goes on at home. Everybody's to themselves. And at the same time, one of the biggest paramount issues is that our parents, our immigrant parents, when they come here, they don't prepare us for marriage. They don't prepare us for marriage. Men are not taught, boys are not taught how to be masculine and how to have responsibility in the general sense. They're not taught how to be a father and a husband, and the same goes for the girl. She's not brought up to be a good mother in the future and a good spouse and a good wife. You're not taught these lessons because the focus is always on that secular education and that secular job, that you must have this. And we'll touch more on this later, inshallah. And another disclaimer is that my job here, inshallah, is to be a mubaddih, right? I'm here to, this message that I have 2 responsibilities, right? That I have to deliver a message to you that is truthful from the Quran and from the Sunnah. And secondly, I have to deliver it to you in a way, this truth from the Quran and from the Sunnah, and from what we see, I have to deliver it to you in a way that you will be able to understand it. So, you're not here to listen to me, right? You're here to listen to the truth in that. And lastly, for now, the context, right? I already said 2023, living in America, the context. Another context is that we live, our ummah today, in this society, we are in crisis mode. I would say that we're in crisis mode. It's as if we're on a ship and we're sinking. And we're sinking. So if a ship is sinking, what do you think everyone's going to do? They're going to panic. They're going to try to find out, how are we going to save ourselves? There's no time for stories. There's no time for joking. There's no time for entertainment. So the point here, and again, this is my message to the youth, that you're not here to listen to some stories and be entertained and go home and say, oh yeah, that was a great lecture, that was awesome. There's no time for that. Again, our ship is sinking. We are in this crisis mode. People are waging war against marriage, the institution of marriage in this society. And to add on to that, some statistics before we get into the Shari side. Some marriage trends, or some statistics about marriage trends, and how marriage has shifted and changed over the last few decades. Number one, and these stats are from ourworldindata.org. Marriages are becoming less common. In most countries, it says the share of people getting married has fallen in recent decades. There's no surprise. Across most countries, people are marrying later in life. Cohabitation, when couples, they live together without being married, is becoming increasingly common. Single parenting is common and has increased in recent decades across the world. Also, there's a general upward trend in divorce rates globally since the 1970s. And there's no, I don't think there's any coincidence that that's when all this feminist movement and all this, started, around the 1960s and 1970s. And again, these are global rates, but I think some of us would be shocked, absolutely shocked, to hear some of the divorce rates in our countries, in the Muslim countries, and the Arab nations. It is unbelievable. And lastly, dual income households. When the wife and the husband, both of them go out to work and they earn money full time, dual income households are 60%. This is a global statistic. And I would say in America it's much higher than that. So to begin the Shari explanation of marriage, in order for us to learn to know what marriage is, what a zawaj is, what a nikah is, we have to define it lughatan, in terms of the linguistic meaning. So, a nikah lughatan huwa al-ijtima'. Al-ijtima'. Nikah is the coming together of. This is the linguistic meaning. And the Shari meaning is the coming together, and this is what I have translated, the coming together of a male and female by means of aqd nikah, by means of a marriage contract, one in which the man and the woman, husband and wife, would be entitled to specific rights they would not be entitled to otherwise. Again, the coming together of a male and a female by means of a marriage contract, which is called aqd nikah, one in which the man and the woman, both the husband and wife, are entitled to certain rights. And these rights they would not be entitled to if they were not married. That is the definition. So keep in mind, it is a contract. In the Islamic sense, it is a contract that one will be held accountable for. And it involves rights and roles and responsibilities. And what these rights and roles and responsibilities are, it will come, inshallah, very soon. Now, the first text, the first nas that I have extracted, that I have chosen, it's an ayah from the Quran in regards to marriage. I found this to be the most foundational ayah when it comes to marriage. But does anybody want to guess what that ayah is? Yes, mashallah. But what is it? Yes, ما شاء الله. جزاكم الله خير brother Omar. Sheikh. ومن آياته أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا لتسكنوا إليها وجعل بينكم مودة ورحمة. Excuse me. مودة ورحمة. And from his signs, from Allah's signs, is that He created for you from within yourself. Allah is talking to the males here, okay? أن خلق لكم من أنفسكم, the males, الذكور. He created for us from within ourselves أزواجا, mates. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, He mentions a reason as well. Why did He create mates for us? Why did He create these azwaj for us? لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. So that you can find second in them. So that you can find calm, repose, and tranquility in them. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. And He has made between you مَوَدَّةً, love, affection, and rahmah, and mercy. Now, this ayah and the other hadith that I'm going to mention, they're actually lectures in and of themselves. Like, this ayah would take literally 2 or 3 lectures in order to explain to you what exactly it entails, all of it. I'm going to do a rundown. And inshallah, if I'm going too fast, you could always stop me and say, can you explain that again? So the points of benefit from these ayats, or from this ayah, is that Allah Azza wa Jal created Hawa, Eve, as we say in English, Adam's wife, from him, in anfusikum. And the hadith say that Hawa was created from a rib, from one of Adam's ribs. Number 2, Allah created these mates for us, or Allah created Hawa for Adam, alayhi salam, liyaskun ilayha, so he can find second in her. It's a source of, again, tranquility, calm, repose, and rest. And also, so this is what Hawa was made from Adam, from his rib. What was Adam alayhi salam made from? It mentions it in the previous ayah. وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَكُم مِّن تُرَابٍ ثُمَّ إِذَا أَنْتُمْ بَشَرٌ تَنْتَشِرُونَ. And from his signs is that he created you from turab, from the earth, from dust. So, it says, the Mufassirun say that Adam alayhi salam خُلِقَ مِنَ الْأَرْضِ وَفِيهِ قُوَّةُ الْأَرْضِ. That Adam alayhi salam, he was created from the earth, and he has a force in the power of the earth within him. And that refers to his shahwa. And that's what they mean, that لِيَسْكُنُ إِلَيْهَا or لِتَسْكُنُ إِلَيْهَا, it means from your shahwa. So you can find calm and repose from your shahwa, from your carnal, your sexual desires in your mate. Why? Because a man, when he doesn't have a spouse, when he doesn't have that outlet, he's troubled, he's perturbed, he's unnerved due to that shahwa, due to that building up of his carnal sexual desires, and it troubles him. And these desires, they must come out. They have to come out in a healthy and a permissible manner. So that's what the second here refers to. And he finds tranquility from these sexual desires that are built up in him and that bother him so much in his mate. And it can also refer to the state of mind as well, mentally. He finds repose in his wife mentally. The next point of benefit from the ayah is that Allah هُوَ الَّذِي جَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. That Allah is the one who has made this mawaddah, this love, this affection between you and your spouse. So if a boy or a man likes a girl or a woman, do we say that Allah has put between them mawaddah and rahmah? No, you can say that it's attraction, it's lust, it's just desire. But that true mawaddah is what Allah puts between the spouses, that true affection. And lastly, that Allah is the one who is in control of the hearts. Allah is the one who is in control of the hearts. So if somebody complains, if a wife complains, oh, my husband doesn't love me, he doesn't love me, he's not in control of his heart. Allah is the one who's in control of his heart. Allah is the one who places that mawaddah and rahmah between you. So if your husband or your wife doesn't love you, you're doing something wrong. Either one of you or both of you. So this ayah is describing the asl of marriage, the foundation of marriage, the origin of man and woman, and what Allah intended by His creation in regards to men and women. And the next foundational and fundamental, I should say, text, which forms the basis of marriage in Islam, is a hadith. And it will explain, inshallah, to us the ruling of marriage. The ruling of marriage. ابن مسعود رضي الله عنه قال: كنا مع النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم شبابا لا نجد شيئا فقال لنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم: يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج فإنه أغض للبصر وأحصن للفرج ومن لم يستطع فعليه بالصوم فإنه له وجاء. And Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu narrated that he said that we used to be with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam while we were shabab, while we were youth. And we didn't find anything. Meaning we were poor, we didn't have anything. So the Prophet ﷺ told us, oh youth, whoever among you is able, he should get married. And he mentions the reason why as well. So here's that instruction, he should get married. And then he mentioned the reason why. فَإِنَّهُ أَغَضُّ لِلْبَصَرِ. Indeed, it is more effective in lowering the gaze. And it is more effective in guarding the private part, guarding your chastity. And after that, he also gave us another solution for those people who are not able to get married yet. And whoever is not able, فَعَلَيْهِ بِالصَّوْمِ. He should fast, he should adhere to fasting, for it will be a shield for him. So the points of benefit from this hadith, quickly running down, shabab is the plural of shab. And a lot of people get this confused. They call one person shabab. No, it's shab. And shabab is the plural. So, who are the shabab? They are men who are between the ages of puberty and 33 years old, or 40 years old, depending on which opinion you follow. الباء من استطاع منكم الباء. الباء هو الجماع. That the intimate relations between a wife, a husband and a wife, that's what the Prophet ﷺ said. And whoever is able to do this, then he should get married. However, it also refers to the financial reasons as well, because in context of the hadith, it points to it. So whoever is physically able to get married, and whoever is financially able to get married as well, then he should do so. And why again? Because it's more effective than lowering the gaze. How many sins do you get by just letting your gaze loose? You don't. You're looking at girls, you're looking at women, you're looking at the screen when you're watching whatever. How many sins would you get? So the Prophet ﷺ gave us a solution. He said, get married. It's going to help you lower your gaze. You won't look at girls and women so much with desire. And also, that it is more effective in guarding the private part, is chastity. It will help him protect from falling into al-fahisha, zina, that one destructive sin that will lead a person to hellfire if he doesn't repent from it. Zina. And also, that fasting is a wijah for a person who's not able to get married. It's a defense. It's a source of cutting off his carnal desires, because fasting reduces the desires, as if a person is castrating himself. This has been tried, it's been tested. So that's advice for you, youth, who say you will complain, I'm not able to get married yet for whatever reason. Fast. Fast. And lastly, this hadith, it teaches us a ruling of marriage. Everything has a ruling. Is it wajib? Is it mustahab? Or is it just mubah? Is it obligatory? Is a certain thing recommended? Or is it just permissible? It's neither of the two. Most of the scholars say, and this is important because it has to do, like, this ruling is the difference between us sinning if we don't do it, or the opposite. So most of the scholars do say that marriage in general is mustahab, it's recommended. It's only obligatory for that person who's able to get married, but he doesn't do so, and he fears that he will fall into a sin, or he fears that he's going to fall into zina. However, other scholars say that no, the amr, the command, the instruction of the Prophet ﷺ is for wujub, is for an obligation by default. And there are ayat to prove that. فَلْيَحْذَرِ الَّذِينَ يُخَالِفُونَ عَنْ أَمْرِهِ أَنْ تُصِيبَهُمْ فِتْنَةٌ أَوْ يُصِيبَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, so let those beware, those who dissent from His order, from the Messenger's order, lest some fitna, some trial befalls them, or a painful punishment. A painful punishment. And also the scholars say that how does Allah Azza wa Jalla or the Messenger Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam instruct us with something, right, and we don't do it? Because when they instruct us, when Allah Azza wa Jalla or the Messenger, they instruct us with something, for what reason? So we do it. So that it gets done. That's the reason for it. That's the reason for it. So when you look at the hadith, فَلْيَتَزَوَّجْ, the scholars say that no, or some of the scholars say that no, this is for wujub, it's for an obligation. That marriage by default is obligatory for whoever is able. For whoever is able. And this is the opinion that I myself am leaning towards. And the next hadith is about choosing the right spouse. And this is especially for the youth. Choosing the right spouse. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم تنكح المرأة لأربع لمالها ولحسبها ولجمالها ولدينها فاظفر بذات الدين تربت يداك. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu narrated that Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, a woman is married for four things: for her wealth, for her status, for her beauty, and also for her deen, for her religious commitment. And choose the one who is religiously committed, may your hands be rubbed with dust. And we'll explain what this means. The points of benefit from this hadith is that there are four things a man would want to marry a woman for. Again, for her wealth, for her status, especially in the tribal era back in the day, for her beauty, for her attraction, and also for her religion. So how does one apply this hadith? Does it mean that you just pick any girl that you want that you think is religiously committed, even if you're not attracted to her? You think that's the case? I'll give you an example. Say there is a young brother. He wants to get married. And there are two girls that he can think of, okay? Whether from school, from wherever they're from. There's two girls that he can think of that he kind of likes and he would probably want to propose to, you know? And let's just say like his mom or his sister and aunt, they're like, oh, we know so-and-so that we could propose to. Why don't we do that? And then there's another girl as well. So now there's four total girls that he could propose to. And mind you, these girls have no idea about him, but he just wants to go and propose to them. Let's just say that one of the girls he's not really attracted to, so he cancels that out. The other three he's okay with in terms of their looks. Yeah, I'm okay with that. But there's one particular girl from those three that he really likes her religious commitment. She wears the hijab properly. She has good haya, good modesty. She has good character. She may have some religious knowledge. She's known for praying on time from her family. So he says, although I may like this other girl or the other two for this quality or that quality, but no, I'm going to choose this one because she is a religiously committed one. And that, inshallah, is how you apply the hadith. Now, taridat yadak is an expression of poverty. A person who doesn't find anything on his hands except dirt or dust is poor. He's poor. He's bankrupt. So it's like the Prophet ﷺ, he's basically saying that you will be like the one who's poverty-stricken with nothing to his name if you do not marry a woman who is religiously committed, who does not have deen. Basically, you won't be successful. And number three, the third point of benefit is that you have to choose a woman who is religiously committed. Why? For what reason? For the amana, for the trust that you will have on her. Because a person who is not religiously committed, a person who doesn't fear Allah, has no amana, they have no trust. It is she that you will entrust in terms of giving you your rights as a husband. And these are very big rights. You can't just entrust this to anybody. It has to be a woman, a girl who is capable of doing that. It is someone that you will entrust to protect your honor and your family's honor. That she's not going to tarnish that for you, and your home's honor as well. It is one that you will entrust to take care and raise your children the proper way. So that is why you have to choose a girl, a woman who is religiously committed. And lastly, third hadith, just to save some time, I'll just mention it in a brief summary, is the hadith of أربع من السعادة وأربع من الشقاوة. That there are four things in the dunya that cause happiness in a person. It causes a person, a man, to be happy. And there are four things that cause him to be wretched, to be miserable, to have a very sad life. And the first thing that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned about the four things that cause a person happiness is al-mar'atu as-salihah. Al-mar'atu as-salihah. And from the four things that cause a person to be wretched and miserable is al-mar'atu as-su', a bad woman. First is al-mar'atu as-salihah, a righteous woman. The second one is a bad woman. So I wrote down some things here about what is a good woman and what is a bad woman. Like I said in the beginning, the spouse that you choose, the spouse that you choose will really shape your life. Even if you stay married to her for only like 5 years, 10 years, it's really going to shape your life. It's going to really shape in terms of how happy you are or how miserable. But who is a mar'at salihah? Who is a woman who is salihah? What are her traits? How do you know if a woman is salihah? Firstly, she has religious commitment. She fears Allah and she prays on time. She has haya, she has modesty and shyness. It is a woman who you look at and you're happy. التي نظرت إليها تسرك. كما قال صلى الله عليه وسلم. That when you see her, when you look at her, you become pleased, you become happy because of what you see, whether from her appearance or from her actions. She fulfills your rights as a husband. And she does not deny you anything in order to use it against you, to use it as a weapon against you in order to take advantage of you. She fulfills your rights, or she protects your honor and your family's honor. She does not insult you left and right, or your family. She is a woman who, when you come home, everything is taken care of. She's working to please you and to be in your service and to do whatever she can from her heart to make you happy. Everything is taken care of. The home is being kept up with. The kids are clean and they're fed. And she's working, again, on fulfilling your needs and your requests with an open heart. She is one who is your support, and she's one who you rely on. And a person that you think like, wow, what would I do without her? This is the type of wife that you want. What would I do without her? I don't want to lose her ever. So you begin to do what? You begin to cherish her. You begin to cherish her. So now you're doing things for her as well. She's happy and you're happy. How about a bad woman? Al-mar'atu as-su'. It's basically the opposite of all of that. She uses her tongue to harm you and your family. And she makes you irritated. She gets your emotions up. You can't trust her with your honor. She has, for example, pictures up in her full adornment on social media. And she may get messages and friend requests from guys. And there are guys in her quote-unquote DMs. And sometimes she may even get curious and open some of these messages. Sometimes she may even reply to them. And that bothers you. And you don't like that. But she continues. And there are other more severe, very severe examples of lack of trust. If you have kids, the kids are being left to social media and screens at public schools and bad friends because she doesn't want to deal with them. She doesn't want to raise them the proper way. She doesn't want to give them the time. She doesn't teach them. She doesn't take care of them. She has her own stuff going on. And lastly, you can't really rely on her. Or you can't rely on her at all. And you think, my life is totally miserable with this woman. I'm not happy at all. How do I get rid of her? How do I marry someone else? And as a transition, the most important, after we've learned these texts, the most important in terms of like practical advice from this lecture are the contemporary issues that we're dealing with today that are waging war on the institution of marriage in the West. Again, that are waging war, that are causing marriages to crumble up and to be gone. And it causes divorce. It causes divorce for people, for couples. And if it hasn't caused divorce yet, they're living in absolute misery. And for those who aren't married yet, it makes it very difficult for them to get married in the first place. And the number one thing that I feel, a contemporary issue that, again, is waging war on marriage, in today's time, again, in our context, 2023, USA, is the cultural ideas that have no basis in Islam, or that conflict directly with it. And a lot of this is coming from, again, our back home countries, these cultural ideas that we bring into this new society. The idea that I don't want my daughter, or I want my daughter to be free, and I want her to be independent. That I want to give her, the mother will say, I want to give her something I didn't have. Meaning a career. I married young. I had children when I was 22, 23 years old. Daughter, I don't want you to do this. Don't get yourself involved in this mess. No, make sure you have your career first, and then you get married. This is the type of mindset. Neglecting teaching your daughter how to be a mother and how to be a good wife. Not teaching your son how to be a good husband and a good father. And believing that your son should accomplish this or that, this credential or that credential, this qualification or that qualification before he's able to get married. And sometimes he's in his late 20s or even early 30s before he's quote-unquote ready according to the parents. And giving too much importance to secular education and livelihood and the source of livelihood, trying to give, again, your children something that you didn't have when you were growing up in your country. But little did we know, like, you could do both. What's wrong with getting your daughter married or your son married while they're in college? There's nothing wrong with that. All it takes is a contract. And then later on, they can move in together. What's wrong with that? They can do both. They can get married and also, work on their credentials. They can get their secular jobs and secular educations. But again, very few people actually care about their children's well-being, from what I've seen. The second ideology, and this is a major one, the second ideology that are ruining marriages, causing ruin and destruction to marriages in today's context, is equality. The idea that human beings are equal and the same, and that they should be treated the same. That all human beings are equal and they're the same, and they should all be treated the same. It really sounds nice on paper, it really does. But if you look at the agenda that's behind it, you'll see how evil this is. And forgive me for my tongue, but how satanic this is. If you look at the intent and the purpose behind it. So in the context of marriage, the liberals, how do they define marriage? They say that it is a loving union between a husband and wife who are equal partners. Husband and wife, they're equal partners in a loving union. That there are no specific roles for a woman or for a man, but they each have to share in all the responsibilities and the duties of the household. The finances and paying the bills, the upbringing of the children, preparing of the food, cooking, house chores and the upkeep of it, cleaning and laundry. All of this has to be split between the spouses because there's no specific roles that a woman should do and no specific roles that a man should do. That's what they said. But what does Islam say about this? What is the Islamic perspective on this? On this idea of everybody's equal and everybody should be treated the same. It's very simple. Inna Allah ya'muru bil 'adl. Indeed, Allah calls for al-'adl. He commands al-'adl. Al-'adl is justice. And equality is not justice. Equality is not justice. Justice is when you treat two different people differently. Because if you treat two different things, two different genders the same all the time, in every aspect of life, you're oppressing one of them or the other or both of them at the same time. But according to the liberal, again, definition of equality, a man and woman, they have equal rights and they have to have equal responsibility as well. Or they say that they should have equal rights, but they stay silent on the responsibility part. And then men are like, what are you talking about? How are we equal? Like, then share the responsibility as well. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example just to show how twisted this mindset is. And you be the judge. Say there's a family. Okay, so late at night, and the parents, they're in one room, and you have kids in the other rooms, and an intruder walks in. He busts open the door. What's going to happen? You tell me. What's supposed to happen? Late at night, husband and wife, they wake up alarmed because there's an intruder in the house, and they have a job to protect. What happens?
One of the parents is going to go downstairs, most likely the guy, with something to attack the intruder.
Why most likely the guy? You want the woman to go?
Yeah. Well, the girl, depending on how fierce she is with her personality, she might go herself.
Her personality?
Yeah.
If she's more what?
Masculine.
More masculine. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. So let's just say it is a man. It's natural, it's instinct. You have this adrenaline. You think a man is going to let his wife go if he's a man? Any man. I don't care if he's Muslim, Jewish, Christian, atheist, any man. No. He's going to get his firearm, he's going to get his bat, his weapon, whatever it is, he's going to confront that person. And meanwhile, wife, go call the police. Go hide in the bathroom and call the police, right? So he's going to face the intruder, and also he wants to protect his wife and his children. Okay. According to this definition of equality, let's just say the next year, this whole thing happens again. Again, you're late at night, you have the parents in the room, children in the next room, and they wake up alarmed, there's an intruder. And the guy goes, listen, last year I put my life on the line for the family. I put my safety on the line. I did all this for the family. And since we're equal partners in a loving union, now you have to go and you have to do it. Would anybody accept that? Would anybody in their sound mind accept that? Honestly, I would be like, bro, what are you doing? What kind of a man are you? Nobody would accept that. But the point here is that if you want to share the authority and the leadership, if you want to share in the privileges, then you have to share in the what's it called? The responsibilities as well. So again, that's one example just to illustrate for you. Another ideology, which is really based on this equality, this idea of equality, is feminism. And honestly, I included a lot of things here about feminism, but then I just took it away, and I really, honestly, I thought, like, do any people actually take feminists seriously anymore? I don't think so. I think a lot of us, mashallah, alhamdulillah, we have enough knowledge, we have enough experience with them that we don't take them seriously anymore. The extreme feminists are on the brink of kufr. Let's just say it how it is. They're on the brink of kufr. If not, they've already fallen into kufr. Why? Because their beliefs and their ideals, they necessarily go against Islam. They necessarily go against the Sharia. They necessarily go against legislation. But the next ideology, again, that's waging war on marriage, is the confusion of genders. And we see that a lot in our society today. And in turn, the confusion of gender roles, lack of masculinity in men, and lack of femininity in women. That the idea of genders are just a social construct. That there's no specific way a man should behave and no specific way a woman should behave. That a woman could cut her hair short, for example, and wear whatever rough and tough clothing that she has, and then she's a wife, she's a mother. And she doesn't have to be caring, and she doesn't have to be nurturing, and she doesn't have to take care of the home and the children because that's not her job. And a man, on the other hand, he's brought up, as a child, he's brought up weak. A lot of the times, no offense here, I'm talking about the children, and obesity rates in children is just ridiculous in America. Obese children. The parents say, what are you feeding your children? Do you not care about your children and what they eat? Why are you neglecting your children in that way? So he grows up in this obese, overweight man. His brain cells fried because of too much screen time, too much movies, too much video games. No sense of honor, no sense of protective jealousy. And he's not given any sort of responsibility. He doesn't know the value of a dollar. And a lot of the times he's treated the same as his female siblings, as his sisters, by his father. And he grows up later in his teen years spoiled. He's just given whatever he wants. And a lot of the times, again, this is from my experience, there's no confidence. He's socially awkward. He can't express himself. And again, he's not confident in general. And most of all, there's no deen. There's no prayer. If you see him pray, he's moving around and he's not paying attention. He's not even reciting anything. He doesn't even know what's going on. And Again, a girl, the way that she speaks and the way she carries herself, it's very masculine. She's not taught how to be feminine. She's not taught how to be feminine by the parents and also by society. But, again, what does Islam say? What is Islamic view? What is the correct view? What is the truth? That Allah has intended for a man to behave in a certain way, in a specific manner, and to have specific roles and responsibilities that suit him, that match him in his creation, whether physically or mentally. And that a woman is also created in a specific manner, that she has specific roles and responsibilities that suit her, in her physical stature, for example, or her mental capacity. Because Allah is the one who programmed us, designed us, fashioned us, created us. So He intended for a man to behave and have certain roles, to behave in a certain manner and have certain roles, and a woman the same thing. So why do we mix them up? Why do we mix them up? And also, Allah has made the man the qawwam. Everyone's heard this ayah. الرجال قوامون على النساء. The men, Allah says, al-rijal, the men are qawwamun over the women, That they're the ones who are in charge, they're the ones who are in authority, and they are the leaders. But let's not forget that with that leadership and that authority comes what? Responsibility. He also has a responsibility. And as the saying goes, كلما زاد التشريف زاد التكليف. That every time a person's tashrif, his honor, his status raises, increases, so does his responsibilities. Look at the prophets. Look at the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah chose him. Allah gave him that status. But at the same time, he had such a responsibility that none of us could ever handle it. Ever. He had the responsibility of delivering the message of Allah, the Quran. And look how he shaped Arabia in 23 years. Allahu Akbar. Who could do that from us? Even if all of us came together, we would not be able to do that. But Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he did it through the Quran. So look at the responsibility that he had. So the point here is that we cannot just want authority and control and leadership without the responsibility. And I want to give another example. And this is a personal example. It involves my kids. So sometimes, when my kids were younger, I would take them out, I'm driving, and the kids, they want certain things, take us here, or take us there, or we're hungry, we want to go to this place, or whatever. And I'd be like, no, we have food at home. I paid for it. I'm not going to go and waste money on food in a restaurant just because you want it. We're going to go home and eat, right? So sometimes, and this was due to their lack of maybe adab and tarbiyah, you'd be like, how come you always get to say, how come you always get to call the shots? Why do you always get to control everything? And I would laugh at them and be like, because I'm the parent and you're the child. I'm the parent and you're the child. Allah made me the parent. He made me in control of you. He made me in charge of you. And you're the child. That's how it is. So I said that if you want this authority and this leadership, go out and work. Shalom over, go out and work. Pay the rent, buy a car, put gas in the car, insure the car, and go ahead, you can buy whatever you want. It's between you and Allah, right? So the point is that the children, they want that, the authority and to be in charge, but they don't think about the responsibility that comes along with it. And I hate to liken women to children. I don't want to do that because it offends them. Wallahi, it does. But that's what we're dealing with here. What else do you want me to do? That's what we're dealing with here. This is the behavior that we're seeing. That these feminist-minded women, they want the leadership, they want the control. But they don't want the responsibility. Then go ahead, you face the intruder. You go ahead, you protect. And the worst the worst are Muslim feminists. I'm sorry, the worst are them. It would be better for a person to marry a Christian feminist or a Jewish feminist, because at least they're fair. But Muslim feminists, these feminist-minded women, when they enter a marriage, they're like, listen, my human rights in this liberal society is that you have to share in the house chores. We have to split everything 50-50. And when we have kids, we have to take care of them half the time. But, or at the same time, my liberal rights are that I work full time. These are my rights. But the salary that I take, that's my salary. You have no right to it. Why? Because Islam says so. So she cherry picks from here, and she cherry picks from there. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. If you want equality, then you have to share the responsibility as well. So again, not to knock any of the sisters or any of the mindsets, but this is just to clarify for you what we're dealing with. What we're dealing with. And lastly, the point on equality. The last point on equality. And I heard this from one of the brothers that I respect very much in this field, especially this topic of liberalism and the ideologies of people. I'm going to put my own spin on it, okay? That you ask any sister, inshallah, the youth here, you're about to be married or you want to be married, or inshallah in the future, you ask any sister, let's not say sister, ask any woman, Muslim or not, do you want your husband to be equal to you? She'd be like, yeah, we're equal. Yeah, okay. So when you're looking for a spouse, right, you ask her, do you want your husband to be equal to you in terms of your physical stature? Do you want your husband to be as skinny as you are? As short as you are? Or do you want him to be bigger than you and muscular and taller? Of course, you would say taller. Do you want your husband to be mentally stronger than you? To make better decisions than you? Yes, of course he is. Do you want your husband to have a better education than you and more of an ability to, have a higher income than you? She'd be like, yeah. What if a woman, she works her job and then the husband makes half her amount? How would that look? Would she want that? Of course not. She would not want that. So the point is that you say to the female, you yourself, you don't want equality. You don't want your husband to be equal to you. So why, when you enter the marriage, when you enter his home, you start living together with him, that's when you demand equality. It doesn't make any sense. And now, the disclaimer here is that I don't want our boys here, the youth, to some of them be like, oh, you're turning them into women haters or this, that, the other. No. The advice here is that you don't demand authority. Okay? You don't demand leadership. It is actually given to you. It's given to you. The imam of the masjid, any masjid, he doesn't come up one day and say, look, I'm your imam. That position, due to his qualifications, is given to him. The Prophet ﷺ, he was given the risala. He never asked for it. And Allah has made men in charge of women. So it's not like we go around demanding leadership and all these things. It's that you stay calm, and it's something that's been given to you from Allah. So there's no oppression involved. We're not oppressing anyone. We're not here to dictate anyone. But the point here is that you as men, you as males, you have your responsibilities and your roles. And you say to the girl or the woman that you have yours. So let's work together. Let's work together. Yes, we are working together, but you have your sets of responsibilities and roles to have in mind. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam wa jazakumullahu khairan. I have left here some advice for the youth, but if anybody wants to add something, discuss anything, or ask a question, then we'll do that, inshallah. Sure.
No.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه ومن والاه. Briefly, inshallah ta'ala, we'll add something. First of all, Jazakallah khairan brother Basheer for this wonderful lecture about marriage. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit us from what we hear and what we learn tonight. I would like also to thank the youth for organizing that event. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you. And we would like to thank everybody here, inshallah ta'ala. I just want to add something, inshallah, about marriage. Marriage is a source or a door, a great door of reward. A great door of reward. Once you enter to the marriage, mashallah, the hasanat will start to count and go to your balance, inshallah ta'ala. But you have to have a good intention that you're doing this as an act of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we hear, mashallah, in the lecture, the marriage is very important in our life and the great part of Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about the prophets, وَلَقَدْ أَرْسَلْنَا رُسُلًا مِنْ قَبْلِكَ. We have sent the messengers before you, وَجَعَلْنَا لَهُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَذُرِّيًّا. And we made for them wives and children. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed wives, children on the prophets to show that the importance of marriage according to the wahy and revelations. So every message, every prophet used to encourage his followers and the people believe in him, believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get married. So marriage, inshallah ta'ala, is a door of reward because you do that as an act of worship. And also, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, من أنفق على أهله نفقة يحتسبها أو يبتغي بها وجه الله كانت له كصدقة أو كان له بها صدقة. So when you spend money from your own money or you give from your effort to your family for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, will be counted as you give a charity, as you donated for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So imagine you spend every day and you bring and you take care of the family, you take care of the need of the family, how much reward you get. A lot of reward. You cannot imagine how much reward. For the wives and the mothers, also, mashallah, they get reward for everything that they do. Like for example, from the job or the most important job of the wife, that to please her husband. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam one time received a woman. A woman came and she said, Ya Rasulullah, I have my husband and I'm doing that and this to him and that and this. And she mentioned that she's sacrificing a lot of her time and giving a lot of efforts to please her husband. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not say to her, you're great and stop. No, he gave a teaching for every woman. He said, انظري أين أنت منه. Look at your status. Look at your position at him. How much he loves you. How much he admires you. How much he is pleased with you. فإنما هو جنتك ونارك. Because he is your Jannah and he is your fire. Look at that serious hadith. So the ulama said, when the wife pleases her husband for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this will lead her to Al-Jannah. Easy way to Al-Jannah. That's why I encourage the girls to learn about marriage and to learn how to be righteous wife and take the marriage as a way to Al-Jannah. Another example, when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was mentioned before him Mu'adh ibn Jabal said he came from a place and from another country and want to make sujood to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he saw people making sujood for their rulers. Then Rasulullah said to him, "Don't do that." He forbid him, right? And he said, "لو كنت آمرا أحدا أن يسجد لأحد لأمرت المرأة أن تسجد لزوجها من عظم حقه عليها." If I command someone to make sujood for another human, then I would command the woman, the wife, to make sujood for her husband. But the Prophet did not do and did not command, and it's not allowed for the woman to make sujood for her husband, not allowed. Okay, sujood only for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But he said, لِعِظَمِ حَقِّهِ عَلَيْهِ, because he has a great right on her. So, marriage also brings rahmatullahi subhanahu wa ta'ala to al-abd, because all the efforts, for example, for the sisters, for the wives, when they cook in the house and feed the family, feed her husband and children, how much reward will she get? Wallahi, immense reward. Great reward you cannot imagine. Rasulullah said, وَفِي كُلِّ ذَاتِ كَبِدٍ رَطِبَةٍ أَجْرٍ. If you feed a bird, if you feed an animal, if you feed a hungry person, you will get great reward. How much reward you will get? Allah Rabbil Alameen forgive a prostitute and guided her and admit her to Al-Jannah because she gave water to Allah. You know this hadith. And subhanallah, how much the wife does good to her husband and family. How much reward will she get? So my sisters, this is your way to Al-Jannah. Your way to Al-Akhirah. Forget about this dunya. Forget about what you lose in this dunya and how much hard time you have in this life. Just to focus on Al-Akhirah. And if for anyone, myself and you, wants to be successful, count everything and measure it by Al-Akhirah. So what do you want? You want this dunya only, or you want Al-Akhirah? Then you have something to lose from this dunya, but you will get a lot in Al-Akhirah. So, on the other hand, also Rasulullah said about the husband, خيركم خيركم لأهله وأنا خيركم لأهله. The best one of you, which is best in deen and best in reward and best in the position in the ranks in Jannah, the best one of you, the one is best to his family. From the believers, as a man, believe in Allah, fulfill the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then he is best to his family. So last thing is, even the joke happened between husband and wife, Rasulullah sallallahu said that's a reward. He said, حتى اللقمة يضعها الرجل في زوجته له بها صدقة أو أجر. Subhanallah. The morsel, the piece of food or fruit or anything, the husband will put in the mouth of his wife as kind of having fun together, show his love to her and affection and mashallah, good relationship. Okay, so this will be as a reward, as hasanat. Finally, inshallah ta'ala, marriage is our door to Al-Jannah, but it's not easy. It's very hard. As usual, as any act of worship, right? الجهاد في سبيل الله ذروة سنام الإسلام. الجهاد في سبيل الله is the highest part of the righteous deeds and the act of worship. And Allah said, كتب عليكم القتال وهو كره لكم. Allah made the jihad mandatory upon you. Why you hate it? Why is it difficult? Has a lot of problems. As-siyam is a great act of worship. And also the way of people to Al-Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ بِكُمُ الْيُسْرَ وَلَا يُرِيدُ بِكُمُ الْعُسْرَ. Right? Allah wants to make it easy for you and not to make it harder for you. To give you an indication that as-siyam, you need to make effort. With all of your effort, Allah made it easy. What if Allah did not make it easy? But we still, people get hungry, they're thirsty, and they have to struggle, they have to make effort. There are a lot of obstacles, right? So marriage, don't expect you will have it 100% perfect in your life, and you get everything you want, or even a great part of you want. You should expect the hardship, and you will be ready for that. How? By learning and get the knowledge for every each part you want to deal with. Like you have a device in your hand, and you want to fix this device. You have to learn about every each part of this device, and what tools will you use, and how will you fix it, and how much time and patience, how much you spend on that. Same thing, subhanAllah, for the marriage life, we have to learn for each and every part. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided us to trustworthy scholars and a good source of knowledge to guide us, then we'll be lucky. If someone did not get a good source of knowledge, then he will struggle more based on how much you will lose from the guidance. I encourage you to get married, inshallah. Plan it now if you are in high school. Plan it, inshallah, when you finish high school. If you are in college, this is a time for you guys. If you are in a university, then you are after the time. If you finish school, then that's it. No more time for you. You have to get it right away. If you are poor, you have no money, what to do? You get married. One poor person came and asked me one scholar, he said, I'm poor and they don't have money, and he said, go get married. And he said, how come? I don't have anything. He said, go, just to go. And he got married. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon him. We are sa'aleek before marriage. But after marriage, we are a house owner. We are, mashallah, the head of the family. We have wife, children, and then we have the rizq. Allah will send the rizq. Allah will send the rizq. Right? So much khayr will come from marriage. If you are rich, then alhamdulillah, you have money. And you help your also friends, inshallah, to get married. So, for also the parents, open the door. Open the door for your young boy or youth, and also for your daughters. Open the door early age and facilitate it for them. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam never made any obstacle in the way of marriage. A person came and he said, Ya Rasulullah, I want to marry this woman. And he said, what do you have? He said, nothing. He said, go. التمس ولا خاتم من حديد. Find even a metal, a ring of metal or anything. Right? Then the man went and he said, last part. The man went and he came and he did not find. Then he said, I have only my rida. I have another extra rida, or I can give her part of my clothes. Subhanallah, Rasulullah said, no, this will not be enough for her. And he said to him, هل معك شيء من القرآن? Do you have something, do you memorize something from the Quran? He said, yes, I have Surah Al-Baqarah, I memorize Surah Al-Baqarah. Rasulullah said, وَتَحْفَظُهَا عَنْ ظَهْرِ قَلْبٍ? You memorize it by heart? He said, yes, Ya Rasulullah. قال أنكحتكها على أن تعلمها سورة البقرة وتقرئها سورة البقرة. Just be her mother. Okay, that to teach her Surah Al-Baqarah. Teach her Surah Al-Baqarah, this will be her mother. SubhanAllah. That's easy, make the marriage easy. Now people do not care about mahar, do not care about it. A lot of people do not care about money. They care about the good man, the good person, the good life, right? So mahar is not, it's not big deal. But anyway, it is part of the marriage. We have to maintain it, inshallah ta'ala. But finally, marriage is built in your heart. If you have any doubt, if you have anything you weaken, your goals, or you don't find safety, you're looking for that, then there is something is covering that nutshell. And that great end Allah Azza wa Jalla planted in our hearts. So we have to clear it. We have to clear it. And inshallah, make it as an act of worship, like a salah, like a zakah, like a hajj. Right? Whenever you are able to do it, then inshallah, you will have a lot of khair in this dunya and hereafter, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. This is my addition. Jazakallah khair, Brother Basheer. Allah bless you. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, jazakallah khair for everybody that attended tonight, inshallah, for the people that are online as well. For the Q&A, inshallah, we want to limit it to the brothers. Unfortunately, they were 15 to 25. Just to make sure that modesty and any shyness is preserved, inshallah. If you are out of that age limit, you're more than welcome to stay in the lobby and listen in, inshallah. You're more than welcome to join online as well. For the brothers and the sisters who are in that age range and they want to continue asking questions, we have two options for you. One, you can either obviously say it out loud, or two, we have an anonymous form on our link and any of the YM group chats if you want to go through that. The link is, I'll spell it out for you, inshallah. It's linktr.ee/YM East Valley Brothers. So if you want to do an anonymous question, you can do it through there. If anybody who's between the ages of 15 and 25, let's bring them closer to Brother Basheer, inshallah. The brothers from YM, inshallah, please come closer. Mo, come closer, inshallah. Yes. So we gotta do a Halaqa style, inshallah. We usually do. The brothers on the right side, one, if you just come here, because I can't see you from here, so just come around here. Oh yeah, you're in Paris. Alright, I'm going to go with Sheikh. Stop off.
So, obviously speaking to the microphone, right? Because you said you wanted everyone to be same consensus. Any questions?
The first one was on the form that what is the limit or the threshold of where a person becomes financially responsible to get married? Because they're saying, for example, houses are very expensive right now, and economy-wise, it's very difficult to be financially stable at an early age. So
when someone is considered financially ready to get married, especially since homes are very expensive in the state of English, that's basically
Okay. Firstly, obviously it's a rhetorical question. Further, I would say that what do you mean by homes are too expensive? Do you mean that you have to buy a home, purchase a home through any means in order for you to get married? That would be my question to you. Secondly, if that is the case, then I would say that your expectations are they're too much. It's not where you start out. Normally, that's not where you start out. That's not what Allah wants from you. That's not what the Prophet ﷺ said in the hadith. Let's go back to the hadith. Oh, you community of youth, think of the Prophet ﷺ as if he's addressing you. Ya ma'shara shabab. Are you a shab? Yes. Are you Muslim? Yes. Are you part of Ummah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Yes. So he's addressing you, he's talking to you. What did he say to you? He said, مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ مِنْكُمُ الْبَاءَةَ فَلْيَتَزَوَّجْ. Whoever among you can afford or is able to do al-ba'a, we'll get to what that means, we already explained it, فَلْيَتَزَوَّجْ. Then he should get married. Then go ahead and get married. So the scholars say that al-ba'a here means that he's physically able to get married. He's physically able to give the right of his spouse to her. It also means that, he has to be financially able as well. What does that mean, though? It can differ from context to context. The short answer is that have a job. That's it. Be responsible. Have some income coming in so that you're not relying on other people. You're not even relying on your parents. Okay, just to make things very practical. Okay? And once you have that job, it can even be while you're in school, during university. And go ahead and rent any sort of accommodation. A studio apartment, a one-bedroom apartment, a two-bedroom apartment. You don't have to buy a house. As long as you're able to provide for the household in that manner, then you can get married. Honestly, wallahi, I see some college youth, male youth, they'll go to other states, and they'll go and rent an apartment off campus, and they're already paying for an apartment. They're already paying for their food, So what's one more person? And what Sheikh Ahmed said is very important, and it's very true. I've witnessed it myself, that when you get married, that person that you bring in, now you're dependent, your spouse, her provision is going to come with you. Allah is going to give you her provision so that you can provide for her. You just have to be sincere. You have to have the right intention. Oh Allah, I want to get married so I can protect or preserve my chastity. And because it was your messenger's order, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I really want to provide for my wife. I want to be self-sufficient. I don't want to rely on anyone else. And that doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. Allah, I hope that answers it.
Any other questions that you guys want? Now's the time to ask. I'll go with the machines.
Sure.
What's the proper way to approach, if you're interested in a woman that you want to marry, what's the proper way to go about approaching her or her family regarding that?
The proper way would be, of course, to approach her money. Okay? And you also have to keep in mind the customs and the traditions and the customs of the people. Okay? So if it's too harsh and too rash for you to just go up to the sister's dad and be like, yo, I want to marry your daughter here, then go through, if you're really serious about it, then you have to go through your parents. Or go through the imam. Go through any older figure that you trust and say, look, I'm interested in marrying this daughter. I want to propose to her. I'm ready to propose to her. Can you talk to the father for me? Can you talk to her? That would be the proper way. The improper way would be to contact her directly, behind her family's back. Now you have this relationship with her. You exchange numbers and you're talking to each other. And this happens a lot, by the way. Especially, I don't know if you're familiar, but online, through these online apps and these marriage websites, the girl is on there, she's advertising herself for marriage, and that's her right. Her parents maybe aren't helping her. Maybe she was in a community where there's not many Muslims, right? So she has to get herself out there. She wants to get married. I'm not saying that's wrong, but the messages from the brothers who are interested in marrying her or proposing to her are going to who? It's going directly to her. So they go into a conversation on the app, then they exchange numbers, and all of a sudden you have this relationship. And they take it steps further too. I've seen this. It happens a lot. Every single day in our communities it happens. That they go and they meet up and they start going on dates. Of course, inshallah, there's no touching involved in none of this, but it can easily lead to that. So the point is, that's the improper way to go about it. If you're really serious, if you want to follow the rules of Allah, you don't want to sin, you don't want to get the reward of Allah, you want to go about things the proper way to get the barakah of Allah, and again, you are that responsible person, I want to do things the right way, then you have to approach her wali, her father. Either you directly approach him, or you do it indirectly, or meaning through silence. Allah. Any other questions? Yes.
So, if you hate your wife and you want to divorce her, like, how do you go about that?
Ouch.
Can the wife do it all the time?
You go that far. That's a good question, though. It is a good question. If you hate your wife, the question is, if you hate your wife or you dislike her, you don't want to be married to her, how do you go about divorcing her? Well, firstly, may Allah protect you and all of us from that, because it's a big trial. Like I said, and that, like the hadith says of the Prophet ﷺ, that if you end up marrying the wrong spouse, and this applies to females as well, if they marry the wrong spouse, or us brothers, when you marry the wrong person, or they're just a bad person, or you just don't like them, it's a huge trial. It's a big trial. So may Allah save us and protect us from that. Always ask Allah for a good spouse, and go and take the means in finding that right spouse, okay? And just as a disclaimer, or just as an aside, a lot of brothers, they fall for the beauty, they fall for the attraction, okay? Or sometimes even get lured in by the sister. Allah, this happens a lot. And he falls for it. And everything's all good, they're on their best behavior when they're, in that boyfriend-girlfriend stage before marriage. But the moment they start getting married, or the moment they start their marriage, that's when everything falls apart. Because now this sister has to give her husband his rights, but she's not capable, or she's not willing, or the opposite. So the answer in short is that if a man wants to divorce his wife, first of all, the divorce is in his hands, okay? Allah has placed it in his hands, that he has to divorce her, as Allah says, in their appointed time. And their appointed time is something, it's kind of complicated, okay? And maybe a bit too involved, right? But there's an appointed time where a man is allowed to divorce his wife. It's after her menses, let's just put it like that. It's after her menstrual cycle, when if she's not on her menstrual cycle, and she's pure from that, he gives her the divorce verbally, and then after that, she has to stay in his home for 3 months for her iddah. And if they don't get back together during that time, she's divorced and she has to move out. That's the short answer. Yes, sir.
What if you want to get married yourself, but your parents are not willing to accept that? They don't want you to get married, and therefore, it will be hard to get married in the first place. So what do you do if your parents don't want you to get married?
Mm-hmm. So if your parents, the question is, if your parents do not want you to get married, or they're against you marrying, however you yourself, you feel like you're ready for it in terms of your age, in terms of your maturity, in terms of your ability, and you really want to. So what do you do in this instance? Firstly, just to be fair, you have to look into why. Ask your parents, why don't you want me to get married? That open communication has to be there. Why? And if they give you answers, then try your best to understand it from their perspective, okay? But if it still doesn't satisfy you, then my advice to you or such a person would be, now listen, do what you're supposed to do, okay? Be on your deen. First of all, establish the prayer. If you're not praying, pray. Establish it in your life and fulfill all the obligations. Stay away from sins as much as possible. fulfill your obligations towards Allah. Okay? Meaning, get your akhirah, your hereafter straight. Do that. Okay? And then secondly, inshallah, once you get the hang of that, once you've done that, now inshallah, you're upon the right guidance from Allah. Allah is guiding you and Allah is protecting you. So take the means. Take the means. Show your parents that you're responsible and show yourself as well. Don't waste time. Don't waste time on social media and entertainment and video games or whatever else you may be doing. Be physically active as well. Go to the gym, lift weights, play a sport. Okay? Be masculine, right? Take on those masculine traits. And also, during this time, try your best to learn about marriage. Learn what kind of wife do I want? Okay? Always look to the future. I mentioned some of the things that you should look for, right? But don't say like, this girl, I'm attracted to her, she's cool, we get along very well, and I just want to marry her. That's fine, honestly. That's totally fine. However, you have to look to the future. Like I said, we're in a ship that's sinking. Okay? So what kind of mindset does this girl have? Or if you don't know that girl yet, what kind of mindset do I want my wife to have? I'm going to entrust her, to give me my rights. I'm going to entrust her to take care of the home. I'm going to entrust her with my children, to raise my children. Okay? Do I want my wife, this girl that I want to marry, do I want to split the chores with her? Is that something I'm okay with? Do I want my wife to work full-time? Or part-time? Or not at all? You have to keep these things in mind. Do I want my wife to treat me like her co-equal? Like we're equal in everything? Or do I want her to come in and start commanding and controlling and leading everything? So these are some of the things that you have to look out for. So during this time, you have to do your best, do your research, your due diligence to find what do I even want in a life. Okay? Inshallah, this will take a couple years here and there, and by that time Allah will guide you. Okay, or that brother, whoever he is, Allah will guide that brother. You'll see how Allah provides a zawja, a wife, is part of the provision of Allah. It's a way that again, I mentioned how Adam, he was made from the earth. Right? In him is the force, in the power of the earth. Meaning his shahwa, his natural sexual desires. From the time that all of us, we hit puberty. It's not now. It's not when we turn 21. It's not when we turn 30. It's when we're 10, 11, 12 years old. These things they're building up inside of us, these desires, and they have to be let out in a natural, permissible way. So again, a wife is a permissible, it's a risk, a means of how you can, in a healthy, permissible manner, let out your desires, right? So the point is that Allah will give you that risk as long as you're doing the right thing, as long as you're on the guidance of Allah. You have to be on the deen as much as possible. And number two, you don't waste time. Be physically active and be masculine and have the knowledge to learn, get knowledge about the deen, about worldly affairs, about current events. What am I dealing with? What kind of, don't just go into a marriage blindly like that. Because you're making a big gamble. Yes.
So let's say you don't have any good options. You just wait it out, or just try to pick a girl.
You may not have, for example, you or that brother may not have many options. But the objective fact is that there are options. There are many girls out there. There's so many girls that are waiting and dying to get married, just like us, just like women. Okay? So you just have to find the means to them. How do I find them? And from my experience, the good girls, the ones who are shy and modest and the qualities that I myself value a lot, you won't really find them anywhere. You won't find them at the NSA. You won't find them at the at the social events. You won't find them online. You just have to possibly ask your female family members, your mom, your sisters, your aunts, whoever. Ask your any males, the older males that you know. Ask their wives. Do you know anybody with these qualities? This, that, the other. So the point is, if there are not many options, then maybe you're not looking hard enough. Or maybe you're not doing what's needed to be done. That would be my answer. Yes, Bill.
Let's say you feel like you're ready to get married, but your parents tell you to wait until after college, or wait until after you get a house, or wait until this or that, which can take you years down the road. What do you do?
First of all, I would advise such parents that don't oppress your child in this manner. Don't do that to them. And I mentioned some of the reasons why our parents have this kind of mentality, right? So they immigrate to this country and they truly want the best for us. You have to believe that. They want the best for us. Sometimes they don't get it right all the time, okay? You just have to convince them that I can do both. I'm responsible enough. I can do this. Don't worry, And I would also ask that brother, why are you so reliant on your parents? Don't be so reliant on them. You don't need their permission. The girl needs permission, not you. You don't need a wedding to get married. So as long as you're doing the right thing, as long as you're following the order of Allah, as long as you are doing your due diligence and you're not, making a rash or very hasty type of decision, then go ahead, go get married. Get married. And of course, you need your parents' approval. They have to be at the wedding. They have to do the wedding. I mean, I'm not saying just get married in secret, But you should be the one who's kind of like leading, If you're really, if you have that responsibility, But in the meantime, I would try to get someone to advise your parents. Say, listen, in very difficult times, we have this shed, we have this youth. MashaAllah, he's on his deen, he's praying, he's doing best to lower his gaze, he's doing best not to look or not to watch movies and these shows and these other things. He's doing his best to not interact with girls. He doesn't want to sin. He's looking to his hereafter. He's doing the right thing. But for such a person, it's as if the closer you get to Allah, and the more that you try to lower your gaze, on the other side, the shaitan becomes very strong. Very strong. And he beautifies things for you that sometimes don't even exist. So the point is that such a person who's trying to get closer to Allah, or is close to Allah, and he's on his deen, his shahwah, his desires, a lot of the times are going to be running through the roof. So someone has to advise the parents and say, listen, this is a form of oppression. He needs to marry. He has to get married. Help him. If you don't think he's ready, then get him ready. It's that simple. If you don't feel that he's ready, then teach him. Help him in that. Yes. Yes.
So I know Islam is a concept of nikah, which is the marriage. There's also taba or khitbah, like the engagement period, right? So what is the difference? What is the ruling? Kind of like, can you tell us more about the difference between the two?
Okay. In terms of the khitbah, it's a lot of the times it's like from what I know, what I've been exposed to, is from like the Arab tradition. I've lived in Egypt for many years, so I used to see all this a lot. The Arab culture. I'm not from Egypt, by the way, but I live there. So in terms of like the cultural nuances, I'm not really sure. Okay, but in terms of the Shari side, khitbah, all it is a promise. The wali, the father of the girl, says, "Look, I promise, or I make this vow that I'm going to marry you, my daughter, in the future. You have my daughter; she's yours. That's it. There's no such there's no like contract. There's no rights involved. He's not allowed to look at her, with desire. He's obviously not allowed to interact with her without need, or obviously to touch her or anything like that. Meaning, it's not aqd nikah. It's not a marriage where all those things will be permissible. So that's the difference. It's just a mere promise. Anything else? I can end off, inshallah, if there's nothing else. I could just end off and I could say that if I painted marriage in a very scary type of picture for you, it was my intent. I didn't want it to be scary or, but I want to really give you the context, again, of where the times that we're living in. Okay? So, again, if the ship is sinking and we're going down this downhill slope, I have to tell you about these things so that you're aware. How many brothers, youth, they go into marriages and they're married to this girl, and all of a sudden it's all like, whoa, I can't believe that I married this person. I would never expect it, So it is very difficult, and there are lots of divorces happening, and there are lots of miserable spouses, men and women. But my advice to end off is that as long as you fulfill your obligation to Allah, you're on your deen, you're praying, you're fasting, okay? You're doing the obligations at the very least, and you're trying to stay away from sin as much as possible, so you're not piling up these sins that really corrode the heart, that it builds like a barrier between you and Allah. You have that connection with Allah. That after that, you choose the right spouse, you do your due diligence, and you choose the right spouse, the right wife for you, not just a girl, not just a side chick, no, a wife who's going to give you your rights, and also the right mother for your future children. That inshallah, you will bypass all of these issues and all of these divorces and all this misery, inshallah, and you will avoid the problems and the issues that we talked about, that we see. And inshallah, you will live that life of happiness and fulfillment that marriage is supposed to give us. So that is my final advice. Yes, brother.
Real quick, according to the Sunnah, what should the men look like? Like, what should we give to our spouses?
The mahar,
Yeah.
the dowry.
Yeah.
So again, a very short answer that it depends on the status of the girl, right? It really depends on her. There's no set limit, right? The Prophet ﷺ didn't say do this or do that. However, in general, he did say keep the marriage simple. He advised the awliya of the girl, okay? Keep things simple. Make marriage easy, okay? So give me an example of like a rich Muslim girl, I don't know. I can think of like a princess in Saudi Arabia or whatever, right? She's worth literally like hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So would it be fair that we say that her mahar should be five grand, and just like the average girl from Arizona, her mahar should be $5,000, right? They differ. They differ. So it's based on her wealth, her status, her family, all of that. At the same time, it should be simple. So if a man, he wants to get married to that princess or whoever she is of royalty, and she has all this generational wealth that she's inheriting, maybe to him $100K would be simple because he can afford it, right? But for us, like the average people, just to give you an answer, like honestly, anything over $5K would be too much. It would be too much. So keep it between $2,000 to $3,000 or $4,000, or buy that jewelry in replacement of the money. And that's the dowry. That's enough. والله تعالى أعلم وجزاكم الله خيرا اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Okay.